To begin with, Master Buckley has asked me to tell a story about organization. And it was a story that I used, many years ago, but it actually started. And no one has ever heard this story before, almost including me. But it's how Master Buckley met Miss Jurwitz and fell madly in love. Okay, and I thought maybe I would share that he does not know, and even more importantly, she does not know what I'm about to say. And on top of it, I'm not sure I know what I'm about to say. I'm wondering how I opened my mouth and got into this. But Miss Jurwitz, she's very beautiful, and she's Lithuanian, okay? And Master Buckley has more talents than anyone has ever seen except me. Most of it's in my mind. But he's quite a piano player. And when he plays the piano, he just doesn't play the piano. I mean, he can play it behind his back. I actually saw a video, where he's lying on his back playing it, up here. And hopefully in my lifetime I'll be able to, share that with everybody. But the other thing is, and here's the fun part, he's an incredible shot. He is one of the fastest draw people, that I personally have ever seen. And even though, Master Ozuna, how many punches can you throw in 1 minute? 713 punches in 1 minute. Try that sometime. Just somebody. But that's in the Guinness World Records and whatnot. But Master Buckley, his hands are so fast you can't even see it. And when he's got a gun in it, it's unbelievable. So in any case, in Lithuania, they needed a kung fu master that actually was a good shot, okay? And who do they send to the train to pick him up but Miss Jurwitz? And it was love at first sight, okay? She took one look at him, and here's where he really got her attention. I love this part. When he was telling me this, I really couldn't believe it. She had a Ferrari, a red Ferrari. I can see it now in my mind's eye, okay? And she pulled up, and he's standing there, she was late as usual. And her hair was flowing out the back, and she kept spinning in, and the train station, it was a wonderful orchard, that you walk through. So she parks the car, and are you Master Buckley? Said yes. And what is your name? And so they're walking into the car, and unbelievably, I didn't know this, but in Lithuania they've got a lot of rattlesnakes. Okay, so this rattlesnake all of a sudden right by her leg. Okay. And if it wasn't for Master Buckley, she would be one-legged Jurwitz, okay? In an instant, he pulled out, his gun came out, bang, 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 and blew the head right off the snake, and the rattle, of the tail that was rattling. He reached over and grabbed it and said, here, I want you to remember this as our first meeting together. And she just went, oh. Actually, I just said that because I just heard you do that now. And, but in any case, the car starts up, and, she's taking off down this apple orchard. She said, do you like apples? And Dad says, yeah. She said, I love apples. He did it again. He pulled out that gun. One dropped right into her lap, and the other one he took in his hand, took a bite of the apple. He said, look, your wish is my command. He said, unbelievable. Okay. And when he hit the apple, by the way, it was just the stem of the apple to get it. So they're riding along, and she saw this butterfly. This is the part of the story that I probably shouldn't tell you, because the butterfly is really significant, to me in this system and whatnot. And this one butterfly flew up, and said, "Are you good enough to hit it? We're going about 60 miles an hour. Can you hit that butterfly? You know that butterfly?" And he went like this, and the butterfly fell to the ground. And so they're driving along, and all of a sudden she sees a hornet's nest. And she says, "Can you knock that hornet's nest out of the tree?" He didn't move. He said, come on, hot shot. He called him hot shot, still does actually. Yeah. Can you knock that hornet's nest out of the tree? And he said, the thing about that hornet's nest is you shoot that hornet's nest and you're shooting into an organization. okay? And that's the point when you make kind of a long road around, to get that. And that really is what we're here for, today, okay? The saying I like the most probably of all of them is, what are we here for if not the knowledge of it? But the people, an organization has got power. An organization has got credibility. You want to realize the story of the Baku system, Bakudo, IBFDA, right, John? Forget those words now. When you're creating an organization in this subject, it's very important that you understand this, okay? Because it's actually wonderful to be liked, and got this congenial personality and whatnot. But the most important thing, people, is to be respected, okay? And this system has got to be respected. That's why we work so hard. This isn't something that I do part-time, or that he does part-time, or she does part-time, or you do part-time. This is what we do. This is what we're all about. Do you know, I want you to think about this, that in terms of international things that Chinese martial arts has done, you know what the #1 system in the world was? Bakudo and then Shanghai. Because the world tournament, every single person, for the very first time, every single person, and we had 9 of them on the U.S. team, every one of them got first place. Okay? That's something to really be proud of, okay? To be #1 in anything in the world, whether it's, making an ellet cake, or pie, the pecan pie, or, the way Juris rides your Ferrari around, or, whatever, is really something. But it really says something about the system when you see what the product of the system is, okay? I can give Stan a bad time about being a 50-year junior belt coming up on his black belt and whatnot. But you know what the reality is? I would rather be, and think about this, brown belt. I'd rather be a brown belt in a really credible system than being a black belt in some podunk, system somewhere. You understand what I'm talking about? In martial arts, it's best to be underestimated than overestimated, okay? There are times when I would walk into a room and whatnot, and, you've got a lot of these old timers. How many tournaments have you been to? Usually the pot belly shows. They've got the old belt that looks like they, shredded it or something, because they want to show, the belt. I'm so old that I can tell you in the 1970s when I went to China, they didn't have a belt system. There was no belt system. As a matter of fact, when I discussed it, they said, we've thought about it because, of course, the Japanese were the ones that put the belt system together. Okay? I'll give you a little history on that in a second, and I've got to go on to other things here. But the Chinese have a saying, and I believe in this, and that is that rank and reward have no meaning for one who is one with himself. Okay? But in any case, what it really boiled down to is they were seriously thinking in the 1970s of the highest rank being blue. And I said, blue? Yes, the sky, of course, is blue. And the sky is the highest. I said, from my perspective, I'm nobody, an American. The black belt is kind of synonymous, with the, with being the highest degree. The Japanese system had 10 degrees. The Koreans had 8 because they felt that in 8 degrees they were better than a 10. And the red belt was something that was only given to the highest ranking master to become a grandmaster after when he died. Okay, it's an automatic promotion kind of like the military. You go up a rank. And the Koreans, by the way, they got terribly clever because when the Japanese did that, this was all after the Second World War. Is they made their brown belt a red belt. And, why do you think they did that? To again say, our red belts are better than your you're a grad master. I mean, there was a lot of politics involved. Remember, after the Second World War, the Japanese really had a little bit of a problem, because the war was not kind to a lot of people. And, in any case, you're here today because you are deserving of the rank you're going to be getting. Okay, there's a requirement here. It's not just a great system to look at, but it's rich because of the content of this system. And a lot of the content of the system has been organized and reorganized and organized and reorganized because of where I came from. Started really 1946. Where were you in 1946? In pugilism. My father was a professional boxer. In 1953, which is the beginning of my Oriental martial arts career, it was the Japanese system, and then transitioned, coming up to California into the Kempo, and then the Chinese system. It was the first American to get the mainland China. Just to quickly give you an overview of this. This isn't about me. What I'm really talking about right now, this minute, is Master Buckley. Master Buckley was the very first person, after 50 years of teaching, that I picked as a disciple. And sometimes it takes time for things to really reveal themselves. Okay? Everything takes time. When you're picking a disciple, you have to really, take your time in terms of doing that. Because a disciple, if you're a disciple, and I've picked you, as a disciple, that's something that goes with responsibility. Okay? Because a black belt is someone that has mastered the system. A disciple is someone that has not only mastered the system, but understands the philosophy behind it. Disciples that are here, do you understand that? Your job is to explain after I'm gone. Disappointed leaders, I'll never be gone. I will always be here in spirit, okay? When we have this get together, the things I've got to do, may take me away here, for a time. But the reality is, I will always be here in spirit because there's nothing I'd rather do than be sitting here right now. But Master Buckley, in 1989, was the first world tournament that was held here in America. And we had 4 people that worked out for it. Rich? Where's Rich Campbell?
Right here.
Did you run that team?
Yes.
Yeah, Rich. And Adam. Adam, you here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. These are the 2 guys that from the Baku system, from 1975, which was the very first one. They represented it. Master Buckley did not make that team, okay? You know something? That probably was the greatest thing in his life that happened to him, the fact that he did not make the team, okay? Because for me, I was sitting in the stands, watching, and I noticed a lot of the people that came to the head table, I had met back in 1975 at the very first world tournament. And then when they realized I was there, we had actually a very warm, get acquainted, situation. And John was right at my side. What were you? Green? He was a green belt, people, a green belt, okay? And I said, John, listen, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go into the dining room, and I want you to get a table, because I'm going to invite all these people to have lunch with us. And how many? I can't remember. This is General Chen, General Wu, the top of all of Chinese martial arts. And he did an incredible job. I'll let you tell the story some other time and whatnot. And I told him, at that time, because now he had my attention, my staff right now. And I said, John, have you ever thought about really getting into this? Yeah, I'd love to do this. I love it. If you find something that you really love, then you don't have to work for the rest of your life. This is fun for us, okay? But in any case, as a brown belt, there was enormous information, things I had documented from my travels, and I did my best to distill it down, from the 1960s, and this was what was this, 1989, to what is now the foundation of the Baku system. You know what I asked him to do? I said, listen, you're going to be a black belt one day, obviously. What I want you to do is I want you to help me organize this. Okay, people, I'm having a conversation with a green belt, okay? And I was not a grandmaster, I was a master. And I asked him to help me organize it. And when I sit here with a smile on my face, I'm thinking of your job description. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, we had in terms of the books that we've written and the artwork and using the computer, I'm actually a wonderful guy at the computer. I taught him everything I know, so I don't have to do it. But the point is, he started organizing. He started putting it together. He would make suggestions. In terms of the brown belt, maybe we should do this. Because at that point, the brown belt, the 3rd degree brown belt, as it is today, was a review, literally, of the yellow, orange, purple, blue, green. You know that, most of your brown belts here, okay? And we used to say that this is how a black belt would do the kimono grab, or the front grab, striking hands and whatnot. But this went on, and it went on, and it went on. And then Grandmaster Wong and I, who we had met, I had a demonstration team, he put a demonstration on, and then he came to the United States after. We met actually in 1975. When he came out, I asked him to be on the board of directors, of what we call Baku at that point. And when that happened, he decided that his life work, it would be all right for his life work to be put with my life's work. And who do you think we chose to put that, to do the architect of that? I can remember, actually, I remember Norm. I remember Ozuna and John and Newman, coming over to my backyard and working with Grandmaster Wong and whatnot. But the primary architect in the last few years has been Master Buckley. And because of the proximity, and the fact that we were together, we practically lived together, in terms of the school. It gave us a chance to really have question and answer periods that I found myself saying things that I had never said to anybody before. And, I've said often that in terms of masters, the future really belongs to the efficient few. And John, out of all the black belts that I've ever had, has been the most efficient, okay? And what this is building up to is I want to congratulate you on your 7th degree. I also want to point out that the 7th degree is in the Baku system is one step below the Grand Master. And when I became a Grand Master, I think I was 51 years old, so he's a little bit away from that. But he'll be a Grand Master younger than I was a Grand Master. Okay? And, in terms of rank, as I said, rank has no, if you're one with yourself, you don't really have to concern yourself, with rank. But there's another person here that in terms of in terms of the restructuring, probably the final restructuring in my lifetime, that has been the most instrumental in terms of testing it. Yes, oh boy, this is really great. More than anyone, that has really come up with the rank is Miss Newman, and I'd like to give her a 5th degree today. remember Newman when she came in. I can actually remember Zuna when he came in. You know, just, I won't go through the lollipop story, although I did mention it. How old were you actually?
Over 15.
Yeah, he was 15 years old, but I mean, you know, just a little kid. And he's sitting here, you know, as a grandmaster, you know. And you know, so, again, equal is as equal does. We're not going to give you anything. They're going to deserve it. You know, one thing I also would suggest here in closing, and I'll shut up, is that I mentioned the disciples. Disciples, you know, we really need you, you know, in this system, okay? We really need you because the disciple is the one that is chosen by me right now, being the Grand Master. One day, it'll be Master Buckley, okay? And Master Zuna, and Master Fugini one day, and Master Newman. You know, I would suggest maybe, like I did, I would take 50 years, but I would take maybe 10. And I would take my time, you know, to pick the disciples. But those disciples have got to be involved. They've really got to be involved, okay? You know, all black belts, listen to what I'm saying here, okay? I'm trying to make a point here, so listen. Everybody listening? I told you many, many years ago that the black belt was not the end of the journey. It was the beginning. When you look at us up here, that's why we're up here. That's why they're up here, and that's where I want you to be, okay? If you're a Richard Lee black belt, then guess what? If in my lifetime, if you get your black belt while I'm still around, you are a Richard Lee black belt. You have a personal trainer and whatnot, but you're a Richard Lee black. I take that very, very seriously, okay? So if you're a disciple, you should really set the example for the rest of the people. I you know, look back and so many people, you've seen this, okay? They get their black belt and, thanks a lot, bye now. No, okay? And I mean, what happens is, troubles me, it makes me sad. It really pisses him off, okay, which I really like, okay? And because I've already told you, that is the beginning, okay? When am I going to really respect you at being a black belt? Stan, what do you have to do for me to really respect you as a black belt personally? What? You have to what?
You have to produce one.
Say it one more time.
You have to produce one.
Say it one more time.
You have to produce one.
You get the point, black belts? I'm looking at you and I'm asking you to help me. I help you. They help you. We're helping you. And damn it, we expect you to help us produce black belts. Who are the black belts that you produced? Give me the names of the black belts you produced. Mr. Warden, Mr. Silverman. Warden, raise your hand. Silverman, raise your hand. Okay? Do these guys, are they bright enough to become a master one day? Of course, of course. Who did you, give me the black belts that you produced.
Curran, Dom, Kobadubius.
Kobadubius. That's unbelievable. A Kobadubius, we gotta give him a Chinese name quickly. Kobadubius. That's gonna be, you know what, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. Okay? You know, is there any of them that you think would be a master one day? I mean, you know, it's really, you know, you get two of them told madly in love, and all they do is look at each other down and around. I thought two black belts. You know, it's a rule here. If two black belts get together, right? You know, and you know, if two black belts get together and they have a child, this is about baby. This is true. We're in a breeding program. We want to delete that from that video. Yeah. So at least a couple of those people have a chance to become a black belt master.
They all have potential if they desire.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you like them to do? Help, right?
That would be nice.
John, to make, you know, here, Ms. Jurowitz, I picked on her, okay? You know that Jurowitz at the Nationals a couple of years ago, I think even the World Tournament, was, what was it, official, you know, the year? That didn't just happen. That didn't just happen. There were people with a lot more experience than she had. But when she had this, she took it seriously. She took it really seriously, to the point where the Grandmasters got together. You know what? She looks more like official than that Grandmaster over there, okay? And so she became official of the year, or whatever it was. Judge of the year. That didn't just happen. She put her rear end out there and she did a wonderful job, okay? Look at the stuff that Newman has done here. You think this was a gift? You know, this kid came in, you know, was a lollipop, and it just transformed her life. I mean, she's really done it. She's not just a normal master. You know, this how many times have you been to U.S. coach? How many times? Twice. He's a two-time U.S. coach. You hear that, women? Okay? There's never been a woman coach. Out of all the women in all the Chinese martial arts systems that go to the nationals and whatnot, she was chosen. That didn't just happen. She put her rear end on the line, and she developed, the right people. How many students do you have, Ms. Newman, that are world champions, that have won it in any of the world championships?
7.
7. Okay. I know a lot of grandmasters and whatnot, and I would say, other than one, I don't know any of them that have had 7 black belts. 7 world champions, the best in the world. Okay. I just say one other thing in closing. Martial arts lessons are going to start to cost a lot of money. Not here, but let me give you an idea, what I'm dealing with. I have a student from 1967 that is up in Seattle and he couldn't make it today. Sent me a wonderful letter. It was Glenn Haston. He's a disciple, is a point of interest. He's going to retire. He's 65 years old, and he's now studying with a 9th degree black belt. You hear that? A 9th degree black belt. He pays $200 a month, $50 every week to take group classes. On top of that, when he wants to have a lesson with perhaps somebody that is not produced 7 black belts or is a 2-time United States coach, you know what he pays for every one of the lessons? $500. You know what Grandmaster Wong has got to come out? He's got to make when he comes. I'm just being matter of fact on this. I kind of get a little wind up sometimes. You know what he's got to make for every class? $1,000. Every class he's got to make $1,000. You know what we do for you? What do the classes cost for students that take this? What do you, when Grandmaster Wong's taking a class, what do you pay? What? $75. $75 when it would cost you, if it weren't for my relationship with him and now our relationship with him, it would cost you $1,000 on a private lesson basis, okay? When you talk about somebody that is a 3-time United States coach, a 2-time master coach, a 5-time coach totally, you're talking about somebody that you're going to pay for a private lesson $1,000 an hour, okay? That's what it's going to cost you, okay? We're going to post it in the school and whatnot, all right? So what we're asking you to do, black belts, I want you to listen to me again, okay? We're asking you to help. That's all we're doing. We're asking you to be here. We're asking you to take part. We're asking you to help us continue to develop the very best students in the whole world, all right? If you do that, you know what it's going to really cost you? Very little. It's covered, but you have to help. But I'm going to say it maybe for some of you for the last time, okay? If you step outside and you want to come back, you are going to pay, okay? And it could really cost you. And I'm suggesting, because remember, I'm the one that just signed your diploma here, not to do that. Okay? You got that? Don't do that. Don't do that. 1, I'll be very, very disappointed. And 2, I'm going to really lose respect for you in terms of your mental capacities. All right? We're here. We're developing an organization. You, especially if your disciples, are on the inside of this. And all of you, okay, if you're a brown belt, you're in that Wednesday, Saturday class, are disciple trainees. Okay? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that believe it. I'm looking for people that are going to follow the leaders. And we're not going to ask you to do something we're not doing or we haven't done. Okay? But by God, we want people that are around us that are really dedicated to this cause. Okay? And I'm really talking to all of you. All right? I hope I didn't get too excited. In martial arts, you don't get emotional. You use your emotions. You don't let them use you. Okay? But I Again, I'm gonna say it one more time. Equal is equal does, okay?